as the chaos above Alien Demon City began to gradually subside. Far away from the eastern mystery region, atop a towering, mist-shrouded mountain, a man in a green robe, seated cross-legged, slowly opened his closed eyes. The moment his eyes opened, a streak of azure dragon light flickered through his pupils. For a brief moment, an ancient dragon's roar seemed to echo faintly, causing the entire space around him to tremble violently. The man's face was remarkably handsome. If Lin Dong were present, he would have been shocked to recognize this face. It was none other than the Azure Dragon King, Qing Ji, whom he had encountered in the ancient battlegrounds. Heh, what an interesting little fellow. The man smiled faintly, a trace of wisdom and age glimmering in his azure dragon-patterned eyes. He gazed into the distance as if his eyes could pierce through space itself, murmuring to himself, "For you, the Azure Dragon King, Qing Ji, to go to such lengths, tearing through space. That little fellow must indeed be extraordinary." Suddenly, the space behind Qing Ji rippled, and a figure emerged. The newcomer was an old man with a head full of white hair, his appearance incredibly aged, but his eyes were deep and profound. His hands, extending from his sleeves, seemed to be crafted from crystalline jade, faintly emanating a strange aura of reincarnation. To possess the devouring ancestral talisman, how could he be ordinary? That boy has immense potential. With more tempering, his strength could grow terrifyingly fast. The old man said, "Oh, the devouring ancestral talisman has appeared?" A ripple of surprise flickered through the deep eyes of the white-haired elder. "Yes." Qing Ji nodded with a smile. It seems they were trying to teleport to the demon realm, but their formation was disrupted by Tian Yuanzi. I suspect they ended up in the Chaos Demon Sea instead. The Chaos Demon Sea. The white-haired elder mused for a moment, then chuckled. If I recall correctly, Mora is still in the Chaos Demon Sea, right? TSK. I'm curious what will happen when the devouring ancestral talisman encounters the flame ancestral talisman. Qing Ji smiled but soon stood up, his gaze fixed on the distant horizon. His eyes seemed to see beyond the void, and for a moment, a trace of darkness flickered deep within them. Not long ago, just after I awoke from reincarnation, I was ambushed. The white-haired elder's expression instantly grew serious. His crystalline jade hands slowly clenched, and his voice dropped. Was it? The alien demons? Yes, hee. At least 3 general-level alien demons. They must think highly of me, Qing Ji said with a faint smile. Back during the Great War between Heaven and Earth, Lord Ancestral Talisman Master sacrificed himself to seal the time-space rift with reincarnation, but some alien demons still managed to hide in this realm. Among them were some truly troublesome characters, and it's rumored that even a king-level alien demon might still exist, the white-haired elder remarked. Although we haven't heard much about alien demon activity for centuries, that doesn't mean they've been wiped out. From the intelligence I've gathered, it seems those remaining alien demons have been quietly gathering in the shadows. I even suspect they've communicated with their kin beyond the time-space rift. They may be planning to tear open the time-space rift again. Qing Ji exhaled deeply, his gaze darkening as he murmured, "What a troublesome lot. If that rift is torn open, there will be no one left in this world like Lord Ancestral Talisman Master to hold the line. Indeed, even though we've gone through reincarnation, we still can't reach Lord Ancestral Talisman Master's level." Among his disciples back then, the Ice Lord was the one with the greatest potential to take that step. But sadly, there's been no sign of the Ice Lord's reincarnation to this day. Who knows if they perished in the cycle of reincarnation? The white-haired elder sighed. Qing Ji nodded slightly, his hands clasped behind his back as he gazed into the distance. In a soft voice, he said, "The signs of chaos are beginning to appear in this world. Who knows if we can survive the great calamity this time?" The white-haired elder remained silent, nodding in quiet agreement. The feeling of spatial teleportation. Damn, it was miserable. This was the only thought Lin Dong could manage after losing consciousness who knows how many times. His hazy awareness kept him from fully waking up, preventing him from controlling his body. At this point, he couldn't even tell if he was alive or dead. He had no idea how long this state persisted. Yet, as his consciousness continued to drift in and out of the darkness, he vaguely sensed some voices nearby. Then, he lost consciousness again. For an indeterminate period after that, Lin Dong remained in this state, floating between darkness and faint awareness. But as time passed, he began to realize that he was gradually regaining control over his body. This discovery brought a sense of relief. Judging from this, he was likely still alive. Through his sporadic, blurry senses, Lin Dong could tell that someone seemed to be taking care of him, and that someone was likely a woman. His awareness continued to rise and fall in the void for what felt like ages, until finally, a ray of light pierced through the darkness, illuminating his groggy mind. After much effort, Lin Dong's heavy eyelids finally parted, revealing a faint crack. His blurry vision slowly cleared, and the first thing that came into focus was what seemed to be a rough carriage canopy. He stared at the canopy, his thoughts gradually becoming clearer, memories rushing back like a tide. The alien demon region, the battle, spatial teleportation, the Yuan sect. A deep breath escaped Lin Dong's throat, and as he exhaled, he clenched his hands slightly, only to discover with shock that his body was incredibly weak. Alarmed, Lin Dong quickly focused inward, and what he saw shocked him even more. His internal energy system was in a state of utter disarray, with even his meridians showing signs of being twisted and broken. Lin Dong focused his mind, sinking into his energy core. There, the shadow of his essence spirit was seated atop the dragon spirit wheel, but the golden light surrounding it had dimmed to an extreme degree, as though it was about to dissipate. The damage is this severe. Lin Dong's heart sank slightly. He hadn't expected the injuries to be this grave. For an ordinary person, such wounds would have meant the end of their path in cultivation. It looks like I'll need to recover carefully, Lin Dong thought to himself. His body, after all, was far beyond the capabilities of normal people. Furthermore, during his time in Alien Demon City, the heavenly dragon aura had fused into his body due to external forces, further strengthening it. Although his injuries were severe this time, with enough time, recovery wasn't impossible. I wonder where this is. His consciousness gradually withdrew from his body as his brow furrowed. In his current fragile state, even an average person could likely take his life. This vulnerability was something Lin Dong, who had always been cautious, found deeply unsettling. Though my injuries are severe, with some rest, I should be able to barely command my essence spirit to control the demon corpse. That should offer some protection. With this thought, Lin Dong finally relaxed a little. No matter what, he wasn't entirely powerless. I wonder what happened to Little Mink and Little Yin. From the looks of things, we've probably been separated. A flash of fierceness surged in Lin Dong's eyes as he gritted his teeth. If anything happens to Little Yin or Little Mink, I swear I will bathe the Yuan sect in blood. Creak. As these thoughts raced through Lin Dong's mind, the tightly closed carriage door was gently pushed open. His eyes immediately narrowed as he focused on the entrance. The door opened, revealing a slender figure entering Lin Dong's view. It was a young girl dressed in a light blue dress. While her looks couldn't compare to Qing Tan or Ing Huan, she was quite delicate and pretty. However, there was a constant trace of timidity in her eyes. As the girl stepped in, she quickly noticed Lin Dong's open eyes. Startled, she rubbed her hands together nervously before softly saying, "You're awake?" Seeing her timid demeanor, Lin Dong's face softened into a smile, and he nodded. From the looks of it, he hadn't fallen into any particularly dangerous situation. But still, he had no idea where he was. "I found you 5 days ago. You were covered in blood and unconscious, but I noticed you were still breathing, so I brought you here." The girl's soft voice echoed in the carriage as she looked at Lin Dong. "My name is Guya." Lin Dong. "Thank you, Miss Gu, for saving me," Lin Dong replied with a kind smile. After hesitating for a moment, he asked, "When you found me, did you happen to see anyone else injured nearby?" Naturally, he was asking about Little Mink and Little Yin. Guya thought for a moment before shaking her head. Upon hearing this, a trace of disappointment flickered across Lin Dong's face. It seemed he truly had been separated from them. "Your injuries were severe. I asked Sister Guyin to take a look at you, and she said. Guya paused, her voice tinged with sympathy. She said you might never be able to cultivate again. Lin Dong was momentarily stunned, but then gave no real response. He knew the injuries within his body were indeed terrifying. For an ordinary person, their cultivation path would indeed be destroyed. Unfortunately for them, Lin Dong was no ordinary person. Miss Guya, where exactly is this place? Lin Dong asked. This is Xianling Island. Guya replied. Xianling Island? Lin Dong frowned slightly, then cautiously asked, is this not in the Eastern Mystery Region? Eastern Mystery Region? Guya frowned in thought for a while before realization dawned on her. You mean the Eastern Mystery Region, one of the 4 great mystery regions, right? No, this is the Celestial Wind Sea region of the Chaos Demon Sea. It's very far from the Eastern Mystery Region. Even a life mystique stage expert would need half a year of uninterrupted flight to reach it, and that's assuming there are no obstacles along the way. Chaos Demon Sea, Celestial Wind Sea region. These unfamiliar names left Lin Dong momentarily lost in thought. He had known that space teleportation would take him far, but hearing that he was so far from the Eastern Mystery Region left him feeling somewhat disoriented, even with his usually steady temperament. However, the feeling didn't last long. Lin Dong quickly shook it off. Given their clash with the Yuan sect, there was no longer any place for them in the Eastern Mystery Region. Coming to the Chaos Demon Sea might actually be a fortunate opportunity. He remembered Little Mink mentioning that this region was even larger than the 4 great mystery regions, and clearly, the Yuan sect wouldn't have a presence here. This would give him ample time to grow. Chaos Demon Sea. Lin Dong muttered the name several times, a strange feeling growing within him. After pondering for a while, his eyes suddenly lit up. He abruptly remembered the spiritual map he had acquired from the Rune Master Tower in Flame City years ago. That map marked the locations of 2 ancestral talismans. He had already acquired the devouring ancestral talisman, but the second one, located far from the Eastern Mystery Region, had slipped his mind until now. Hearing the name Chaos Demon Sea had triggered that buried memory. Back then, Little Mink had mentioned that the second ancestral talisman shown on the map was in the Chaos Demon Sea. A second ancestral talisman? Even Lin Dong, with his usual composure, couldn't help but feel a surge of joy at the thought. He knew firsthand the incredible power of an ancestral talisman. If he could obtain another, his strength would soar, and it would also help him fulfill the Great Wilderness Tablets mission. Brother Lin Dong, are you all right? Guya looked at Lin Dong, whose face had suddenly lit up with joy, and asked softly, somewhat startled. Lin Dong smiled and slowly restrained his expression of happiness before hesitating briefly. Miss Guya, do you happen to have a map of the Chaos Demon Sea? He had in his mind the location of the second ancestral talisman. By comparing it with a map of the Chaos Demon Sea, he would be able to pinpoint its exact location. You mean a sea chart? Guya blinked and then blushed with some embarrassment. The Chaos Demon Sea is vast, and it's divided into many different sea regions. The Celestial Wind Sea region we're in now is just one of the more famous ones. A complete sea chart is incredibly rare. I don't have one, but I do have a map of the Celestial Wind Sea region. As she spoke, Guya pulled out an ancient-looking scroll and handed it to Lin Dong. Thank you. Lin Dong accepted the chart, grateful, and used the limited spiritual energy he could muster to scan it into his mind. He closed his eyes briefly, and when he opened them, there was a hint of disappointment. It was clear the second ancestral talisman wasn't located in the Celestial Wind Sea region. Still, Lin Dong wasn't overly discouraged. Surviving the spatial teleportation was already a stroke of luck. Expecting to stumble right into the location of the second ancestral talisman would have been too much to hope for. There was plenty of time ahead to search. For now, the priority was recovering from his injuries. Only after regaining his strength could he explore the Chaos Demon Sea and search for the second ancestral talisman. Just as this thought crossed his mind, the sound of wheels grinding against the ground came from outside, followed by the murmur of voices. It seems we're setting up camp to rest. Brother Lin Dong, would you like to step outside and have a look? Guya glanced at Lin Dong and asked. Sure, why not? Lin Dong smiled and nodded. After a short rest, he had regained some strength to move. He was curious to see what the infamous Chaos Demon Sea looked like. Seeing this, Guya smiled as well. Her kind-hearted nature showed as she stepped forward to help Lin Dong up before pushing open the carriage door. When the door opened, Lin Dong was greeted by a bustling scene. People were busy setting up tents on a flat piece of land, and surrounding them was a lush forest. Though he couldn't see the sea, the size of this island seemed quite large. However, the faint salty smell of the sea in the air indicated they weren't far from the coastline. Around the carriage, many of the busy individuals cast glances at Lin Dong. Most of these gazes were filled with sympathy, likely due to the rumors they'd heard about Lin Dong's severe injuries preventing him from cultivating. But Lin Dong remained indifferent to these looks. He briefly scanned the camp, and then a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. Most of the people here were quite young, though many had a faint air of arrogance. Yet, their auras were strong, comparable to the top disciples of the Tao sect. These people seem to be from the same faction. It looks like they're quite powerful, Lin Dong thought to himself. Chaos Demon Sea truly lived up to its reputation. Even a random group they encountered was this formidable. Guya, it's one thing for you to pick up stray cats and dogs, but now you're bringing people back too? Do you think our Gu clan is a shelter for pets? As Lin Dong was observing the camp, a sharp, mocking voice came from near a bonfire. He frowned and looked in that direction, spotting a red-clad woman sneering at him and Guya. The woman was quite attractive, with a tall, voluptuous figure that was especially eye-catching. Surrounding her were several young men, all fawning over her like she was the center of their world. These young men were also quite powerful. The red-clad woman herself was at the 8th Nirvana stage, clearly very talented. Guya's face flushed red with anger, but she didn't dare say much. She bit her lip and softly replied, "Sister Guing, he was gravely injured. If we hadn't helped..." Gravely injured? So what? He's a cripple now, can't even cultivate. It would have been better if he just died. Your kindness might end up making him resent you for meddling. Besides, we're not here for a leisurely trip. If he drags us down, are you going to take responsibility? The red-clad woman mocked coldly. Guya's face grew even redder from the sharp words, but it was clear she was used to such treatment. She could only remain silent, nervously twisting her hands together. Guing, can't you hold your tongue? At that moment, the central tent of the camp was pushed open, and a woman in a light white dress stepped out, speaking in a calm voice. This newcomer was even more beautiful than the red-clad woman, with a sharp, delicate face. Though she wore a cold expression, it added to her striking presence. Clearly, she held a high status here. As soon as she spoke, the red-clad woman fell silent, though she still shot a disdainful look at Guya and Lin Dong before sitting back down. That's Sister Gu Yin, the one who checked your injuries earlier. She's one of the most outstanding members of the younger generation in our Gu clan. Guya whispered to Lin Dong. Lin Dong nodded slightly. He could sense that Gu Yin was incredibly powerful, with one foot already in the life mystique stage. The woman in white, after scolding the woman in red, finally walked over to Guya. She patted her head gently in comfort, then turned her gaze toward Lin Dong. In her eyes, there was neither disdain nor warmth. At most, a bit of sympathy due to his injuries. Guya has a kind heart and loves helping others, but we have important matters to attend to on Shilling Island. Plus, things here aren't exactly calm. If you want to follow us, you must listen to our orders at all times. I don't want to suffer any losses because of you. Her voice softened as she continued, once our business here is done, if you have nowhere to go, I can arrange for you to work for the Gu clan. At least, you'll have a way to survive. She didn't wait for Lin Dong's response, turning and walking away, leaving him standing there in surprise for a moment before shrugging helplessly. Seems like they really do think I'm just some useless burden. However, aside from Guya, he didn't feel much attachment to anyone else here. Once his injuries healed, he planned to find an opportunity to leave. The full moon hung high in the sky, like a cold mirror. Its icy light bathed the entirety of Xinling Island, casting it in a faint glow. Deep within the island, the distant roars of demonic beasts echoed through the stillness, rising and falling intermittently. Lin Dong sat cross-legged beneath the carriage roof. Compared to the others' soft tints, his accommodations were rather lacking, but he didn't mind. After all, in the eyes of the others, he was likely just an oversized burden. Sitting there, Lin Dong formed a cultivation seal with his hands. A faint azure glow flickered across his body as wisps of devouring power spread out, drawing in the primordial energy from the surroundings. Gradually, he converted it into his own energy, nourishing his severely damaged meridians and bones. As the primordial energy seeped into his body, Lin Dong could sense a surge of wild yet gentle energy from within him. It was the heavenly dragon aura that had fully integrated into his body. As it circulated, faint dragon roars reverberated from deep within him, causing the azure glow to intensify. His earlier weakness slowly ebbed away. Feeling this change, Lin Dong let out a quiet sigh of relief. Just as he was about to exit his cultivation state, a subtle vibration suddenly emanated from his brow. He was startled to discover a surge of pure, powerful energy flooding out like a tidal wave, spreading through his limbs and bones. What is this? This sudden development left Lin Dong surprised. Focusing his mind, he shifted his attention to his brow. There, he saw a glowing seal suspended, emanating a vast and mighty energy. A spirit seal? As he gazed at the glowing seal, Lin Dong finally understood. A wave of excitement washed over him. He had nearly forgotten that after killing Yuan Song, he had acquired this spirit seal from him. Lin Dong was well aware of the power of a spirit seal. Yuan Song had reached the minor completion of the life mystique stage at such a young age, and it was likely due to the influence of the spirit seal. Now that it had fallen into Lin Dong's hands, it was like a tiger gaining wings. With the spirit seal's energy supply, his injuries would undoubtedly heal even faster. He exhaled a long breath as he slowly opened his eyes, a faint gleam flashing within them before returning to calm. Creak. Shortly after Lin Dong opened his eyes, the carriage door was gently pushed open. Guya cautiously stepped inside, carrying some soft blankets. Brother Lin Dong, the nights on the island are quite cold, and you're still injured. Be sure not to catch a chill while resting, Guya said with a smile as she placed the blankets beside him. Lin Dong stared blankly for a moment at the scene. Then a warm expression flickered in his eyes. This girl truly had a heart that was too kind. Brother Lin Dong, Sister Gu Yin isn't a bad person. When I brought you back, no one else was willing to help. It was only after she agreed that the others stopped arguing, Guya said, sitting next to him. Lin Dong smiled and nodded. He didn't hold any grudge against Gu Yin. In this world where strength ruled, most believed he would never be able to cultivate again, so it wasn't surprising that no one showed interest in him. The fact that they allowed him to stay with the group was already quite generous. The two sat under the carriage roof, chatting softly. Normally, Guya was shy and a bit insecure, clearly not used to socializing with others. But perhaps because Lin Dong's situation was even worse than hers, she found it easy to converse with him. As they talked, Lin Dong also gleaned some information about the Celestial Wind Sea region from Guya. The Celestial Wind Sea region was located in the northwest of the Chaos Demon Sea. This region was quite well known within the Chaos Demon Sea. Within the Celestial Wind Sea region, there were also several powerful factions, with the most famous being the so-called Two Heavenly Caves and Five Great Clans. The Two Heavenly Caves referred to the Xiefeng Heavenly Cave and the Qingkuan Heavenly Cave. The five great families are massive, ancient clans: the Wei clan, Gu clan, Su clan, Zhu clan, and Shunta clan. These families are well-known powers in the Celestial Wind Sea region. Of course, given the chaos of the Chaos Demon Sea, aside from these five major clans and the two dominant sects, there are many smaller forces scattered throughout the region. While these smaller groups may not have the same reputation, their strength should not be underestimated. You all must be from the Gu clan, right? Lin Dong glanced at Guya, thoughtfully. From the moment he saw the strong young individuals in the camp earlier, Lin Dong had already guessed that Guya and her group hailed from a significant force. But he hadn't expected them to be one of the five great families of the Celestial Wind Sea region. Our clan leader is a powerhouse who has reached the death mystique stage, Guya said. a look of admiration flashing in her eyes. That level of strength was something she clearly looked up to. The Death Mystique stage, huh? Lin Dong nodded slightly. Though he wasn't sure just how many top-tier experts from the Gu clan had reached this stage, he knew it was formidable. Such strength could rival some of the top sects in the Eastern Mystery region, though not as powerful as forces like the Yuan sect or the Dao sect. It was more on par with other major sects. For any power in the Celestial Windsea region to reach the level of the Yuan sect or the Dao sect, only the two dominant sects could probably compare. That in itself was quite terrifying, considering that the Celestial Windsea region was just one part of the chaotic Chaos Demon Sea, and not even the strongest part at that. We were originally transporting goods, but midway through, we received news that a vital, profound spirit fruit had appeared on Xinling Island. So, we changed our route to try our luck and see if we could obtain it, Guyer explained. Vital, profound spirit fruit? Lin Dong was taken aback at first, then his expression changed subtly. You mean the fruit said to help one break through to the life mystique stage? Brother Lin Dong has heard of it? Guya nodded eagerly. For experts at the 9th Nirvana stage, the vital, profound spirit fruit is highly beneficial. With enough luck, it can help one break through to the life mystique stage. Sister Gu Yin came here specifically for it. She's already half a step into the life mystique stage. If she gets the fruit, she could fully break through. Lin Dong nodded thoughtfully, a flicker of excitement flashing in his eyes. He could sense that if he fully recovered from his injuries, his strength would improve dramatically, possibly even breaking through to the 9th Nirvana stage. And if he could obtain the vital, profound spirit fruit, he might even surpass that and reach the life mystique stage in one leap. After his encounter with Yuanzong, Lin Dong had a clear understanding of the vast gap between the life mystique stage and the Nirvana stage. Even with his spirit seal, breaking through to the life mystique stage through normal cultivation would likely take at least 6 months. But now, with the appearance of the vital, profound spirit fruit, that timeline could be significantly shortened. Such a miraculous fruit was extremely rare in the Eastern Mystery region. Lin Dong hadn't expected to encounter it so soon after arriving in the Celestial Windsea region. It seemed that the Chaos Demon Sea truly was a treasure trove. But now that word of the vital, profound spirit fruit has spread, many powerful figures have gathered on Xinling Island. Whether we can actually obtain it is still uncertain, Guya said, oblivious to Lin Dong's shifting expressions. No wonder Gu Yin said that Xinling Island has been uneasy recently. Lin Dong's expression gradually hardened. The appearance of the vital, profound spirit fruit was unexpected, and it was impossible to deny his interest. After the devastating losses in the Eastern Mystery region, he knew how crucial it was to increase his strength. However, he was still severely injured, and many powerful figures would no doubt be eyeing the fruit. For now, it was better to focus on recovering his strength and observe from the sidelines. If an opportunity arose, he could then make a move. In the end, treasures like these were meant for the capable. Lin Dong had no strong attachment to Gu Yin and her group. If he did get the fruit, he wouldn't forget Gu Ya's kindness, but he had no particular loyalty to them. With these thoughts, Lin Dong calmed the excitement in his heart and continued chatting with Gu Ya. After some time, the girl reluctantly left, leaving Lin Dong smiling as he watched her walk away. He then closed his eyes once more, focusing on healing his internal injuries. The convoy moved steadily through the dense forest, the rumble of the wheels blending with distant, muffled sounds as they traveled. Lin Dong, positioned toward the rear of the convoy, had made significant progress in healing his injuries after 2 days of cultivation. His strength had partially returned, but he was still cautious and didn't want to reveal himself prematurely before his full recovery, avoiding any unnecessary conflicts. During these 2 days, Lin Dong quietly followed the convoy deeper into the island. Apart from Guya, who occasionally chatted with him, the others largely ignored him. Most of the Gu clan youth regarded him with indifference or even condescension, while a few seemed to pity him. Along the way, Lin Dong noticed other groups heading toward Xinling Island. All of them seemed to be aiming for the vital, profound spirit fruit. Among these groups, Lin Dong spotted several formidable individuals, making him quietly marvel at the strength present in the Chaos Demon Sea. Compared to the Eastern Mystery region, this place was on a different level. Most of these people weren't to be trifled with. Their cold, murderous aura suggested they had been through many life and death battles. Brother Lin Dong, are you hungry? Here. As Lin Dong scanned the surroundings, Guya suddenly appeared beside him, offering a piece of dried meat with a shy smile. Lin Dong smiled as he took the meat, biting into it. Yesterday, Lilia gave Lin Dong some pills. Not only were they packed with abundant primordial energy, but they also carried a faint trace of vitality, which had a remarkable effect on his healing. Huh? Brother Lin Dong, are you talking about the profound primordial pill? It's an upgraded version of the Nirvana pill, except it contains even more powerful energy. While Nirvana pills contain Nirvana energy, the profound primordial pill carries a hint of vitality. If you're planning to purchase anything in the Chaos Demon Sea, these pills are a must, Lilia said after a brief pause. I see. Lin Dong nodded in realization, though not surprised. After all, ordinary currency held little value for many people. These kinds of pill-based currencies were the ones universally accepted. I've got just over 500 profound primordial pills left. Brother Lin Dong, if you need them, feel free to take them, Lilia said, pulling out a small cosmic bag, her face turning a bit red. Lin Dong looked at her flushed face, feeling momentarily speechless and conflicted. This might be the first time he had encountered someone so kind-hearted and, one might say, pure. While 500 profound primordial pills might not be a massive fortune, for some ordinary people, it was quite tempting. Yet, here she was, feeling embarrassed because she thought the amount was too small. Thank you. However, Lin Dong didn't refuse, as he truly needed these pills to regain his strength. He accepted them without hesitation, though he mentally made a note to repay this favor in the future. Lilia, the profound primordial pills we distribute each month aren't meant to be given away like that. Just as Lin Dong accepted the bag, an irritated voice rang out from the front. Lin Dong looked up and saw Gu Ying, dressed in red, glaring coldly at him. Lilia was startled by Gu Ying's scolding, her face flushing even deeper. These are my pills. I can use them however I want, and Brother Lin Dong is not a bad person. You dare talk back to me? Gu Ying, surprised that Lilia, usually so submissive, was standing up to her, grew furious. Her hand shot out, aiming to slap Lilia. Smack. Her hand was blocked midway. Lin Dong's expression darkened as he looked at the unruly girl. His voice turned cold. You're both members of the Gu clan. Don't you think you're being a bit too rude? A cripple like you dares to call me rude? Gu Ying's face turned ashen, clearly not used to being reprimanded like this. The surrounding Gu clan members quickly gathered, their expressions turning hostile as they surrounded Lin Dong. What's going on here? The commotion drew attention, and Gu Yin swiftly approached, her figure moving gracefully as she shouted sternly. Sister Gu Yin, this guy tricked Lilia out of her profound primordial pills. He must be up to no good. Gu Ying quickly explained. No, it's not like that. I gave them to Brother Lin Dong willingly, Lilia said in a rush, trying to defend Lin Dong. You. Gu Ying's face flushed with anger once again. Enough. Gu Yan's face darkened as she silenced both of them with a sharp tone. Then, turning to Lin Dong, she asked with a frown, Why do you need Lilia's pills? To heal, Lin Dong replied calmly. Your injuries can't be healed. Even the profound primordial pills won't help, Gu Yin said, frowning. I have my own methods, Lin Dong responded, his tone still even, offering no further explanation. And even if you do recover, what good will that do? Do you think you can reach the heavens, or, Gu Ying sneered, but before she could finish her sentence, Lin Dong's icy gaze locked onto her, filled with a rising ferocity. The intensity of his stare caused her to freeze in place, the words dying in her throat. Though she quickly became embarrassed and angry, just as she was about to retort, Gu Yin stepped in and stopped her. I hope your intentions are pure. Lilia is kind-hearted, and if you deceive her, I won't let it slide, Gu Yin warned, casting Lin Dong a deep look before waving her hand to disperse the crowd. Gu Ying shot Lin Dong a venomous glance before stomping off, filled with rage. Lin Dong remained composed as he watched them leave. When the crowd had dispersed, he smiled and patted Lilia's head gently, ready to offer some comfort. But his expression suddenly froze. He turned his gaze toward a nearby hill, where a large group of people had appeared, all of them focused in this direction. The Wei clan, they've come as well. As Lin Dong noticed the newcomers, murmurs quickly spread through the surrounding Gu clan members, and their expressions turned grim. Who are they? Lin Dong asked, his eyes resting on the group's leader, a man in green robes. The man's sunken eyes and seemingly friendly smile held an undercurrent of cold malice. That's the Wei clan. The man leading them is Wei Song, quite famous among the younger generation of their clan. He's said to be on the verge of reaching the life mystique stage, Lilia said nervously. Our Gu clan and the Wei clan have always been at odds. I didn't expect them to show up here on Xinling Island. Lin Dong nodded slightly, his eyes narrowing as he focused on Wei Song. After a moment, he sensed something unusual and shifted his gaze to the man behind Wei Song, who was wrapped entirely in a black cloak. Though unremarkable at first glance, Lin Dong detected a peculiar aura emanating from him. Hee, what a coincidence. I didn't expect to run into you here, Miss Gu Yin, Wei Song said, his smile as sharp as a blade as he greeted Gu Yin, the leader of the Gu clan party. Gu Yin glanced at him coldly. You've got fast ears. But the vital, profound spirit fruit on Xinling Island won't fall into your hands. You're straightforward as always, Miss Gu Yin. Wei Song chuckled, the image of a smiling tiger, as he tucked his hands into his sleeves. Then, with a meaningful glance at Gu Yin, he added, well then, it seems we'll have to see whose skills are better. Oh, and one more thing, Miss Gu Yin. Beware of the demonic beasts that prowl Xinling Island at night. As the voice fell, Wei Song finally let out a loud laugh. However, a cold glint flashed in the depths of his eyes. With a wave of his sleeve, he swiftly led his men away. As Wei Song and his group left, the faces of the Gu clan members showed a hint of unease. Lin Dong stared at their departing figures, frowning slightly.